I have a passion for the power of home cooking. In 1996, when Hillary Clinton published "It Takes a Village to Raise a Child," I had 3 young boys at home: Calder 10, Miles 6, and Luca 2. And what I really thought at that time was, really, it takes a dinner table. Because it's the one place you can have an impact on the physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being of a human being. You may think you're too busy to cook dinner, and you don't have time to sit down and eat, but think of how much time you spend rabbit-holing on the internet: Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat stories. So why not consider home cooking an essential life skill, like brushing your teeth, or cleaning your body, or getting to work on time? Why not just decide it's important to you? And after years of cooking and sitting down at the table with your family tribe, you will be rewarded and thankful for what's happened there. And here's the thing: you can't go back and reclaim it. Inhabit it now. Find time to make home cooking work for you. So here's a few little tips that worked for me. Don't drive through. For $8, under 8 ingredients, you can serve 8 people flautas and guacamole at home. I remember the time one child came home and said to me, he had been at a friend's house after school, and he said, "Why can't we have Hot Pockets?" Now, I knew those convenience items. They came 2 to a pack, and one boy could gobble 2 packs at a time, and they were preservative-laden and expensive. And so instead, I decided to use real ingredients and make a home version. And what it did was recognize that their utility is undeniable. So the boys could just pull them out and heat them up at their convenience. You can steal ideas from their friends. So one day, my son Luca, my most meat-eating son, went for a sleepover at his friend Nate's in a vegan household. So he came back the next day and he said, "Gosh, I sure wish you could cook like Nate's mom." Pam, the vegan poet? I had never heard her cook or talk about it. So I called her up and I said, "Pam, what on earth did you feed Luca?" She said, "Oh my gosh, he loved it. It was just lentils that I cooked in water." Luca hated lentils. So I concocted a lentil soup, and I served it with big, golden, crunchy croutons made from leftover bread. And to this day, that soup sits on our stove many winter weekends. It costs $1.60 for 8 servings, and each serving has as much protein as a 4-ounce chicken breast. Lucas says today that if a kid grows up being taught something day after day, it sticks with them whether they deem it important or not. Because when they grow up, it was a ritual to them, almost like a religion. And if the kid sees the parent cook and eat fresh vegetables every day, he told me recently, it has such an effect that it not only balances your life, but your lifestyle. I wouldn't have known that when he was growing up, that he was taking that in. And don't hide the vegetables. Bring them out in all their glory. Because if you build it, they will come. And if you make it taste good, they'll eat it. and have some fun with it. Do what you can. My second son, Miles, as a 5-year-old, hated onions. And onions are in everything. But one day I noticed when we were going to Brooklyn, because that was his favorite thing to do, to go to Brooklyn and see his friend. So one night I said, onions come from Brooklyn. And after that, he loved Brooklyn onions. Were these Brooklyn onions? Did you use the Brooklyn onions? That's Miles. He's 24 years old today. And he's overcome many personal challenges. In fact, when he was just 16, his father and I emancipated him from high school to work in one of the most challenging, tough, but finest kitchens in the world. Now, he was there 3 years. And aside from becoming a badass fish cook, he learned math, science, French, and Spanish. Miles has shared some things with me today that I could never have fathomed when he was young. He says that any kid who has occupational or any kind of attention or learning issues, they need structure as a young child, and food's really good for that. He says, give a kid corn to shuck, and that's an hour that kid is shucking corn and not going off and getting into trouble he shouldn't be getting into. He said, you can involve even the smallest kid in the prep of food. Do you know, he told me that when I gave him a potato peeler to peel potatoes, he said it was like a kind of therapy, because by peeling the potato and feeling the texture of that potato, it calmed him down. I didn't know that when I needed help in the kitchen at the time. Our firstborn son, Calder, after he spent a year in a freshman dormitory waking up with a stomachache many mornings amidst a wasteland of cardboard boxes from takeout food and greasy napkins, he decided that feeding himself was as important as going out to party and hang out. Okay, maybe almost as important. So the first thing I did was I taught him how to make chicken wings and potato skins. And then the calls started coming home. How do you make your roast chicken? So if I got too long-winded when I was talking to him, he'd say, no, not the recipe. How do you do it? How do you make the skin so crispy? I would speak as quickly and simply as I could so he wouldn't hang up the phone. And the calls kept coming. How do you make pork chops with apples and onions? How do you make a fried egg so it isn't gooey on top? Well, when the egg is frying in the butter, you take a little bit of water and hit the fat, it starts to steam, and then just put the top on for about 20 or 30 seconds, and the top will cook at the same rate as the bottom. Calder says that when he smells garlic cooking in oil or butter, he thinks of home. But when he smells garlic burning in oil or butter, he thinks, to use his words, how I was always harping, don't burn the garlic. One by one, these recollections are strung together like pearls on a priceless necklace. We all have them. And if yours are unwelcome memories, why not cook new ones? Smell is the most transporting of senses. In one whiff can trigger what it felt like to be in your childhood kitchen. We all have the triggers. Think about it for 1 second. What's that one thing when you smell, you think of home? Well, Marcel Proust had his Madeleines, but I have Faico's pork store on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village, New York City. I take one step inside and I am overcome by the heady aroma of pecorino, parmesan, and provolone cheese, pork, garlic, and tomato sauce. And in a whiff, in a single inhale, I am transported to my Italian grandmother's kitchen, where she and her sisters, my great aunts, were bustling around in floral printed house dresses, laughing and chatting and hand gesturing and bickering about the best way to make meatballs. One side thought you had to brown them before you dumped them into the sauce. But the other side said, oh, no, you don't need to brown them. You just dump them right in the sauce to cook. And those meatballs would bubble away on the stove in sauce called Sunday gravy. And that Sunday gravy was the very first thing I learned how to cook. And thank goodness I did, because it was like amber encasing happiness from my childhood. In 1943, MFK Fisher wrote, "Our three common needs for food, security, and love are so mixed and mingled and entwined that we can hardly think straight of one without the other. So I offer you one of the most inspiring ideas that you can inhabit right now. Cook for the people you love, but teach them to cook for themselves, and they will pass it on." Thank you.